Welcome back to the channel. Today we diving into the details of the German army as I show you how I paint this Herr Commander from the iconic field grey uniform to the Splinter Camouflage on his helmet. I walk through every step to get your miniature ready for tabletop. Let's get started. To kick things off, we are layering down the first layer of the color. I'm starting with the German WW2. As the base coat for the entire uniform, I really like this special tone because it provides a perfect muted foundation that isn't too dark to make this much easier to build up their highlights and shadows later on. Make sure to apply in thin, even coat to keep all of their crispy detail on the scalp visible. The secret to a great looking hair officer starts right here, with the base coat. I'm using German Tankaroo 2, which is honestly one of my favorite shades for this period. Even though it's label for Tankaroo, it's that perfectly slight warmed grey-green tone that captures a look of a field tunic between the most standard greys. I'm applying it in one thin layer to ensure a smooth operating finish with not clouding. There's fine details of the insert on the binocular. It's about building up the solid foundation before we even think about the camouflage or the highlights. Next up, I'm focusing on a leather edge band for the map case and the pistol holster. I decided to go with the chocolate brown. This deep rich brown provides a beautiful contrast against the field grey on the uniform. Now it's time to work on the most expressive part of the miniature, the face and hands. For this, I'm using Barbarian Flesh. I'm applying it carefully to the face, making sure to get into the all contours of the sculpture, expressive and also on the point on the hand. Moving on to the helmet, I want to create a strict look for the commander, so I start with the khaki base for the cloth cover. Using khaki instead of standard green or grey give it a authentic sun bleaching fabric feel that was common for field made or used covers. Now for the front part, adding the camo pattern to the helmet cover, I'm using flat brown to create their characteristic geometry shapes. The key here is to keep the edge sharp and random to mimic the splinter style used by Wehrmacht. I'm applying small irregular blotch across the khaki base, making sure not to overdo it. The background color still peek through. This step is what really gives the commander that battle-hardened veteran appreciates on the tabletop. To tie everything together and add some seriously drift, I'm applying a dark tone wash over the entire model. This is where the magic happened. I'm letting the wash flow into the depth recesses of the uniform to gap between the fingers and the detail of the gear. Now that the wash is dry, the uniform looks a bit too dark, so it's time for some layering. I'm going back with the German field grey to bring back the original color and to highlight the race's areas. I'm applying this carefully, leaving the dark tone visible only in the deepest folds and the shadows. This technique really builds up the volume of the miniature, making the fabric look three-dimensional and realistic. It's a bit of a patient process, but as you can see, it makes a massive difference in how the commander look under the light. Applying this color to all the race's surface of the tunic and the trousers. Being careful to leave the dark shadows we just create visible in the deepest folds. This step is where the miniature really start to pop, as the German field grey create a clean professional finish and restores that iconic look of the hair uniform. It's all about building up that contact between the dark shadows and the flesh layer of the paint to give the commander a realistic three-dimensional presence. With the uniform look sharp, I'm turning my attention back to the skin tone. To really make the expression stand out, I'm layering Barbarian Flesh over the facial feature and the hands. I'm focusing on the most promised area, like the bridge of the nose, the cheekbones and the knuckle on the point of the hand. By replacing the Barbarian Flesh after the wash, I'm cleaning up the skin and create a strong highlights that embrace the commander's shooting pose. Now with the essential shadows on the leather gear, it's time to add some wear and the tear. I'm mixing chocolate brown with sky grey in a ratio 1:1 to create a sharp highlights color for the pistol holster and the map case. To the really finish of the uniform, I gave it a hike and look. I'm going with the final highlights. I mix the German field grey with sky grey in a ratio 1:1. Now that the camouflage pattern and the wash have set, I'm heading back to the helmet cover to sharp things up. I'm using khaki again for some careful layering. I'm focusing on the areas between the flat brown spots, especially on the top of the helmet and along the edge of the fabric and the stretch over the steel. Let's clean up the mess edges from that wash and bring back the brightly sun bleaching base color. By doing this, the camouflage pattern look like it's actually printed on the load, rather than it's just painted on the top, making the whole helmet look much more cohesive and realistic. To finish the helmet look, I'm going back with the camouflage shape. I'm using flat brown again for quick layering phase over the initial pattern. The wash usually darker the brown quite a bit, so replaying the original color to center of each groups, I'm creating a subtle contrast. I'm making sure to leave the darkest edges from the wash visible, which create a natural look transition. To complete the camouflage schema, I'm now adding the final element, the firm green splinter shape. For this I'm using firm green. Just like with the brown, I'm painting a sharp, angular paint across the helmet, acquiring the overlapping them with the khaki or brown areas to create the authentic layering look. Now that the helmet is finished, I'm focusing on the small but visual details on the uniform. The collar, tabs and the eagle insignia for theirs I'm using sky gray. With the commander himself is fully painted, it's time to ground the model. By working on the base, I'm using chocolate brown mixed with water in a ratio 1:1 to create a costume wash. To bring the Normandy setting to life, I'm adding some green stuff. To the base, I'm placing their irregular on the commander's feet to simulate the lush, overgrown terrain of the French countryside in summer. Their city grass tufts are a great way to add vertical and texture to the scene, making it feel like it's a real piece of the battlefield rather than just a plastic stand. Thank you for watching my video, and if you like the video, don't forget to give a like, write a comment, and we see you in the next video. Goodbye.